Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. With Copiers Plus, you never have to question whether or not that printer is going up against a bad team or a good team. They're always in playoff contention, always in Super Bowl contention. There are no layoffs. There's no days off. You got a problem with that copier? You got a problem with document management? They're local. You can call them. They'll even go out to Giglio's house for the 8th time to fix his Wi-Fi.
There's a lot of that. Happy Duke Super Bowl Tuesday to all who celebrate.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Cheers.
I'm excited about that. We'll get into a little Cooper Flag and Duke a little bit later on. Last night, I decided I'm going to do my best to stay up for the Carolina Hurricanes, who played at 10 o'clock against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So I decided to watch Monday Night Football with the Miami Dolphins. That was a mistake because that was the kind of game that would put you to sleep. But the Dolphins did win last night with Tua Tagovailoa, who made headlines by saying he didn't want to be the poster boy for concussions and things like that. Cool, whatever. I'll leave that hand-wringing conversation about his health to other shows. It's a tired conversation. Tua has made it abundantly clear he wants to play. I salute him and his decision. Off we go. We've all made that social contract. But what I will not stand for, what I would absolutely not stand for this week is don't give me this BS that the Miami Dolphins are somehow still in playoff contention, because the Miami Dolphins under Mike McDaniel are very easy to figure out. Are the Rams a good team?
They were last week.
That's not what I asked. Not what I asked. They're a middling team, 4-4 going into the game.
Yes, they could be good one week and bad the next.
Aha, look at that. The Miami Dolphins beat them to give them a losing record. And I saw on ESPN about how the Dolphins still have a path to the playoffs and all that stuff. I'm like, whoa. Let me look at the schedule. All right, they got the Raiders next. All right, got it. They'll win that game. They got the Patriots. Patriots have been feisty as of late. Spunky team. Packers, forget that. The Jets, okay, you have my interest. The Texans, no. The 49ers, is Christian McCaffrey healthy in this game? Yes. All right, get the Dolphins out of here. The Browns, you've piqued my interest once again. And then they close out the season with the Jets. There's a lot of moving parts here, but there's one thing that the Dolphins are in control of, and that is their ability to beat bad teams versus their ability to beat good teams. And when the money's on the table with Mike McDaniel, and I know Tyreek Hill finally got a touchdown for the first time since week 1, blah, 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 blah. Don't want to hear it. Do not want to hear it. And in fact, as I was watching,
the value of that Tyreek jersey.
I know,
I
went up. And as the game was unfolding and I'm watching this, I'm like, why the hell am I watching this? I was thinking about what you had said about the NFL being a terrible product. And we had a listener, Ryan, send us this tweet. It's this guy named The Degenerate. I was making sure it wasn't you in your Bayonne, your burner with the Bayonne shirt that you're wearing today. Hey, yo.
Hey, you making a pizza.
So it's this guy named The Degenerate. Whatever, it's cool. And he has, I swear, I was like, am I listening back to Joe Giglio during one of our podcasts?
I'm 37 years old. I've watched football my entire life, NFL and college, but let's focus on the NFL for a second. I don't ever remember the games being this bad. The 4 p.m. slate right now, every game is an ass whooping. You've got some nice performances. The Cardinals look great. Justin Herbert's playing great. None of these games are competitive. To start your day off, you had the Giants and Commanders. I mean, Daniel Jones is pathetic. And then 1 o'clock, like, what game was worth watching? Steelers, Commanders? That's it? Bucks, Niners got good? This is bad. I mean, the NFL is bad. On Sundays, I used to dread when my wife wanted to do anything. I used to dread it when she wanted to go shopping, go to a friend, whatever. If I had to go and I couldn't be in front of the TV, glued to it, watching football, I would be miserable. Or let's go early so I can be home in time for kickoff. Now, I don't give a fuck. What am I going to miss? What the fuck am I going to miss if I'm not home in time for 1 p.m.? Fucking Caleb Williams going 13 of 20, whatever the fuck, for 120 yards, and the Bears getting 3 points at home? What am I going to miss? This is terrible. And I mean, what do you point the finger at? Is it the coaching? Is it the fucking coordinating? The quarterbacks? I mean, what is it? It's got to be something, right? Are the practices too soft? The lack of preseason? I don't know, but I'll tell you what, man. This product sucks.
Thought it was you. But unlike this guy, you actually hang out with your family.
Way to catch up.
Yeah. Ryan sent that to us going, hey, Joe, our dude's going to actually have to spend time with their wives now. Because you know how we do in this business. Hey, guys, only 50 more days until we can tell our family, F off. I don't like you.
The playoffs start on December 20th.
There's football on TV every day from now until Thanksgiving. We made it. But oh God, you're watching this and you realize this
is what we made it to.
This is what we're watching. Ah, damn. The fact that the man admitted, I actually want to do something with my wife now, buddy. You know, sometimes I want to say things that would reveal too much and I have to put my own governor on. But when I see stuff like that, I think to myself, I'm like, it's been a few months, hasn't it, buddy? Yeah, it's tough on you. It's tough on you. Anyway, but I you know my stance on where we're at right now with the state of football. I think it's exposed itself with being on TV throughout all parts of the day. And you are getting Giants, Panthers in the morning. You're getting that 1 o'clock slate that could bury bad games because you weren't watching it because it wasn't in your region, and you could focus on the 4:30 game, the national afternoon window and the evening window. All that stuff has been exposed, right? But to jump off, because I was thinking about things last night, and because we're so focused on the Panthers, and I said something on yesterday's show that I thought was worth exploring a little bit more, right? And we'll start where we're at with the Panthers and then expand to the rest of the NFL to illustrate my thesis, my overall point. The Carolina Panthers no longer have the worst vibes in the NFL. Now, if you had asked me how things were going to go the rest of the season, I would have told you there's no way in hell that the Carolina Panthers weren't going to be the laughingstock of the NFL the rest of the way, given how things were going. But all you got to do right now is go to Tankathon and look at the fact that the Carolina Panthers went from, tell me something good. At least they'll have the number 1 pick in the draft. Oh, no. The NFL is so shit right now that the Panthers can't even be good at being bad because there's better teams at being bad than the Carolina Panthers. I give you the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Giants, Tennessee, Cleveland, Las Vegas, New England, New Orleans, the Jets, and then we get to the Carolina Panthers and, of course, the Miami Dolphins, who people still think can make the playoffs. But I talked about moving on, right? And one of the things about the Panthers is that I'm convinced more than ever that despite the fact that the Panthers have won 2 games in a row with Bryce Young, and he's looked pretty decent, that the Carolina Panthers will be moving on from Bryce Young at the end of the year. And if you need more further proof than that, I always wait till the Monday press conference to see what Dave Canales is going to say. Yes, folks, I am the sicko that watches Dave Canales Monday press conference video so you don't have to. Salute me for the service.
And you talked before about last year, how during your losing streak at Tampa, it took a while before you guys found your identity. Do you feel like you guys have found that here at Carolina right now? And is that something that, when did that click in, you think?
I would just say we're just getting closer to a foundation we can build on with our run game, with the play actions. Certainly in our pass game, there are things that we need to continue to improve upon.
And lastly, who will be your quarterback when you play the Chiefs?
Yeah, we'll take all the information in and we'll let you guys know. Fortunately for us, we have some time to kind of think this whole thing through. Anything you're looking for particular that you haven't seen already, or? Yeah, just all of it, right? Just taking it all in and just looking at the full system and all that, and then we'll make a decision going forward.
The man refuses to hit that thing off the tee. He refuses. Every single time David Newton of ESPN throws him the alley-oop, he goes, nah, I'm good. I don't need to tell you about that stuff. Oh, we got to look at all the data points. Well, what more data points do you need to do? You've won the last 2 games. Bryce Young is helping you run the offense. You're running the ball with Chuba Hubbard. And this is the guy that you selected with the overall number 1 pick in the draft. Andy Dalton's not the future. You know me, I'm looking at Tankathon, right? I don't think the Carolina Panthers should draft another quarterback because I'll make a larger point about that in the future. You got to go defense if you can to rebuild where you're at right now. So they're giving you opportunities to at least say, yeah, you know what, maybe Bryce does have an opportunity. You refuse to do it. So I'm convinced now more than ever, Joe, that they are going to trade him once we get to the NFL draft. Because to your point, there's gonna be a team based on what we've seen with these little sights and sounds of Bama Bryce that they'll have the hubris to go, we can fix him.
Yeah. While I admire your courage for sitting through his Monday press conferences,
I'm a sicko. I agree.
I do think there's Zooms now. So I do not like this trend.
Yeah.
The more I think this guy's he's just A, not good at them, and B, he's not going to say anything. So you have this double combo of,
that's fair.
He has no confidence to say anything, and he's not going to deliver any kind of resounding message. So I would say to you, while yes, admirable that you like to listen to these things, I find there is no value in them. Right.
Oh, I didn't say I like doing it.
No, you just did.
Maybe I do.
So
okay.
there's 8 teams that you could put on a list that maybe need a quarterback next year.
Mm-hmm.
There's 4 that definitely need a quarterback next year. I think you and I both agree Cam Ward is probably the only one that we would take with one of the first 3 picks. So that probably makes him the number 1 overall pick.
There's going to be a team that reaches for Shedeur Sanders, though.
Sure. But I'm saying you and I both agree,
Cam
like,
Ward
if we had the first pick,
Cam Ward,
for not the Panthers, but any team that needed a quarterback, we would take Cam Ward.
Yep.
That means there's going to be 3 other teams on the definitely list who need a quarterback who are sitting here going, now, what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then on that maybe list, like I've got the Jets, I've got the Colts, I've got the Raiders, I got the Titans. That lost draft class of Bryce, Will Levis, and Richardson, like those 3 teams are at a crossroads.
Well, and it goes beyond that too. You're looking at what's going on in Jacksonville, right, with Trevor Lawrence. Now they're going to have to.
They're not going to move on from him just because of what I just explained to you.
Yeah,
they're not going to move on from him. They'll get a new coach in there and try to do something else there.
They'll get another new coach because it's easier to go replace Doug Peterson, who is already fighting with the media again. I don't have the clip in front of me, but there was a bad Mac Jones. Trevor Lawrence is hurt. He's got a shoulder issue, right? So Mac Jones is out there. Speaking of lost draft classes and whatnot, so Mac Jones is out there and he throws one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen in a clip. I mean, he just threw it right directly to the defender. And Doug Peterson was asked about, like, well, what happened there? Blah 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 blah. He's like, y'all couldn't figure it out anyway, so I'm not going to say it. So we've hit that portion of where things are at with the.
But I think the Browns,
the
Raiders,
Jaguars.
Giants, and Saints are 4 definitelys who will have a new starting quarterback next year.
Yes. Now, to the larger point,
with only really one obvious one in the draft, and then what do we really have in free agency that we've seen? Because if you're locking up Dak Prescott and and Daniel Jones and some of these other garbage decisions,
you say the Jets. I'm not convinced that Aaron Rodgers wraps it up after this season.
I think he'll be done with the Jets.
Maybe, although maybe that's an opportunity for David Tepper to do the funniest thing in Charlotte with a free agent Aaron Rodgers. But you're illustrating the point about how you can be laser focused on the Panthers. And I'm not trying to absolve the Panthers of their mistakes. They've made a lot of mistakes. But what ends up happening is when you take a step back, you realize, man, they're in a large pool of teams that have a lot of things they got to answer for. And a lot of teams that perception-wise, they were better than the Panthers. Like the Chicago Bears is a prime example of this. A couple of years ago, you were lauding Brian Daboll. Brian Dable's going to get his ass fired in New York, and that's because of his own decision-making, and it's an insistence on trying to make a quarterback work that's not working. You were reading Bill Barnwell, and he had this clip from Daniel Jones. Jones instead took a sack that forced the Giants to punt. When he threw an interception on the next drive before halftime, I assumed we would be seeing Drew Lock after the break. At that point, Jones was running a minus 11.1% completion percentage over expected. Minus
11.1
against what has arguably been the league's worst pass defense. And that doesn't even include the non-throw on the flea flicker, which should have been a massive gain. And I know you kind of railed on the Daniel Jones situation in that I saw a clip that you sent me where, oh, well, if Daniel Jones has time in the pocket, well, I can't show you because the NFL would flag me. And here's Daniel Jones
throwing to their number 1 receiver, airmailing it 20 yards over his head.
Like, it was a horrendous throw, which again gets back to the point. Yeah, the Panthers are bad. I'm not trying to dismiss that attitude, but y'all, look around, man. Look around. All these situations that people were convinced were going to be turned around are not, and a lot of folks are going to be getting fired. Dable's involved with that, but I know you. I feel like Daniel Jones kind of broke you this past weekend.
Well, I told you because I watched them against Washington as well.
Right.
And Jaden Daniels, like, do you think Cam Ward is going to be Jaden Daniels? Right?
Yeah.
Because you keep saying if you're the Panthers, you wouldn't take a quarterback. And I understand the sentiment, but at some point, look at what Washington had. Look how Washington is seemingly completely a different football team. And really, personnel-wise on offense, only really have one new player.
Yeah.
Like, there's something to be said for that.
But this is year one, okay?
Right.
Like, you can look at C.J.
Now,
Stroud.
of course, they signed all of the Panthers' defensive retreads, and their defense looks pretty good.
Well,
so there's that.
That's when it gets to the organizational issues as well, right? So, like, for instance, I brought up Chicago, right? Caleb Williams right now in his rookie season, everybody's having a meltdown right now because Caleb Williams was the prince who was promised. Chicago going into the year, we fleeced the Panthers. You guys suck. Caleb Williams has his breakout game against the Panthers. Again, I am not absolving the organization of how bad of a look it was that day and how through the draft and the capital spent to get Bryce Young, it hasn't necessarily worked out. But here is Bryce Young through 9 games of his rookie season versus Caleb Williams 9 games of his rookie season. Bryce Young, 8 touchdowns. Caleb Williams, 9. Bryce Young, 7 interceptions. Caleb Williams, 5. Bryce Young, just over 1,500 yards passing. Caleb Williams, just over 1,700 yards passing. Completion percentage through 9 games of the rookie seasons. Bryce Young, 56%. Caleb Williams through 9 games, 60%. And when you screw up that rookie, well, what do we see with Bryce Young? Frank Reich, you got to get out that paint, man. All right, now it's Matt Eberflus's turn. And it's becoming like, look, on one hand, I can kind of clown Dave Canales and how he does these press conferences, but it's probably better to give you nothing than it is to do some of the embarrassing things that we've already seen this week with Matt Eberflus. So here's the clip from ESPN 1000. It's Kaplan and Jay Hood. This is your typical weekly radio hit in big markets. The coaches, as the like presenting sponsor, where they pay the coach. Anyway, I don't know how the arrangement is. All I know is that this happens in these big markets. And Eberflus is just not really answering the questions. So Kaplan's already annoyed. Hood's already annoyed. And then making matters worse, if you really want to piss off a radio host when they're trying to do an interview, the phone connection sucks. Which, I mean, it's kind of symbolic with where things are going right now in Chicago, that they can't even get the phone to connect. And, of course, this gives Kaplan an opportunity to make all the jokes.
You know, we're looking at this week and this week only. We do have evidence on tape that we've played good football during the course of this year. We got to pull those experiences.
Coach, your cell phone's as bad as the offense right now. All right, we'll put them on hold and see if we can reestablish. Damn. I mean, come on, man. This is 2024. Can we get a freaking landline? What are we doing? Seriously. Get the man a phone that works, please. We'll try to reestablish with Matt Eberflus momentarily. Here on the I'm serious. Cap and J Hood Morning Show.
Yeah, Cap, you're not wrong. Communication issues prevalent all season for the football team.
I mean, his phone line's as bad as Waldron's play calling.
There you go. That's the clip from the radio show up in ESPN Chicago. So again, I present to you, hey, look, guys, Panthers fans, it's bad everywhere.
It's kind of wild because they're the one you should be talking about could still make the playoffs at 4-5.
I know, but they're already in crisis mode.
They've lost 3
That's
straight.
hilarious.
I get it, but they're 4
they've
and
lost
5.
3 straight, but they've only scored a touchdown.
No, I know. Their offense is just
their offense is terrible right now.
bad.
And that's not what that was. That's not how it was sold with Caleb Williams.
And
coming
they've
there.
got some sort of DJ Moore problem because apparently he only wanted to play against the Panthers this year, and I don't think has done anything since.
Dude, you know, it's funny that segues into another shit show situation, right? You brought up DJ Moore. DJ Moore last week or the week before, when asked about Eberflus and communication, he's like, well, I wouldn't say it's like, I forgot what it was. I'm paraphrasing here, but he didn't give a definitive answer of, oh yeah, no, that's not a problem. He's like, I mean, it's not that. I'm like, whoa, okay. Mike McCarthy, like, look, Dallas is the free space on a bingo card of NFL teams that are going through it right now. And Micah Parsons, of course, set the world on fire because when he was asked about Mike McCarthy and his job, Micah Parsons hit him with the, man, that's above my pay grade. That's the line you use when you don't actually want to talk about somebody. I've used that line. I mean, heck, I remember back in the day, people would ask me, "Oh, what do you think about like this? You blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Man, that's above my pay grade. I just show up, I do my job, and off we go." That's how it is. So when you got that happening, of course, this leads to ESPN going 24-hour emergency podcast mode to rip on Micah Parsons. And of course, Micah Parsons loves this. Like, you all understand you're doing Micah Parsons' job for him. The man has a podcast that he will now address all these things going on with Micah Parsons, and then you'll talk about it again. So if y'all don't recognize the game, well, there's a reason why the media landscape has changed the way that it has.
Hit the button, man. Hit the tell me something good button, please.
Oh, you tell me something good? All right.
Tell me something good.
Maybe David Tepper was right all along. Maybe firing your coach until you find the right one is actually the right play.
Maybe.
Because here are the two teams that you just talked about.
Yeah.
The Chicago Bears somehow, some way thought Matt Eberflus, who went 3-14 in his first year, fair enough, with Mitch Trubisky or whoever, quarterback.
There's context there.
Then the guy goes 7-10 the next year with Justin Fields. They thought that guy was the one who was going to bring it home for you.
Mm-hmm.
So they kept their coach thinking, no. It's not the coach. It's not the coach. It's just, we got to get the right quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the Dallas Cowboys who kept Mike McCarthy in spite of all of the evidence throughout Mike McCarthy's career that suggests this is not a person capable of winning the Super Bowl unless he has Aaron Rodgers in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, he could only do it once. Even then. So maybe, just maybe, today is the day we give David Tepper credit for firing every jabroni who comes his way and not thinking that the coach is magically going to change overnight.
And look, all I'm asking here is for same energy. And that's like the theme of the week for me. Same energy. So if you're going to bring the same energy on the Carolina Panthers being a train wreck, and I'm not disputing whether or not they're a train wreck or not. I'm not trying. I mean, look, this is the same owner who threw a drink at somebody. Like, you can't do that, right? Took a hat off somebody at a restaurant at Dilworth's, right? Well, I want the same energy with all the people who are like, you should have drafted Anthony Richardson. You idiots. You had this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with Anthony Richardson. And now in Indianapolis, you want to talk about crisis in Chicago. When Pat McAfee has the biggest megaphone in sports media today, and he goes on his show yesterday, and he drops the hammer on the organization, you tell me who's got it bad right now.
The Colts team fucking sucks. I'm disgusted. Flacco. Everybody wants to put AR in. Hey, listen, AR had no chance with this building that is happening. That is what I've realized over the last 12 hours. I'm wondering why AR's tapping out of games at quarterback. Like, how's this guy not know you can't, as a quarterback, do that? Like, call timeout.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Waste the timeout.
Yeah.
Instead of tapping your head and showcasing that whole thing. And, is he getting better? Is he getting worse? Is he in shape? All those things. He's got nobody telling him how he's supposed to operate in that building.
Exactly.
Kenny Moore, our captain, one of my favorite guys on the football team.
Yeah.
After the game comes out and he goes, our team doesn't work.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit.
Everybody's just kind of this is Kenny Moore after the game. The Indianapolis Colts lose to the Buffalo Bills.
I don't think everybody is working as hard as possible.
What?
And obviously it's showing. I'm not the type to sugarcoat it, honestly. If I don't think the urgency is there. I don't think the details are there, so I don't think the effort is there. And I don't see everything correlating from meetings to practice to the games, and it shows.
So who's the head coach of the Colts?
Shane Steichen.
Shane Steichen, one of those guys that everybody was thirsty for with the Carolina Panthers?
Oh, yeah. They had a choice.
Okay.
They could have gone young and scratch off, and they went old and safe.
Mm-hmm.
They did that. They made that choice. Just kind of goes to show there is no one way to do it. This, though, brings up, you'll have a conversation with Luke in our program today. Luke's uncle is the one who coined the axiom that all NFL coaches are C+ students.
Yeah.
And it's the 1A that always stands out. And for 2 decades, that was Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're seeing it in Andy Reid. Mm-hmm. All of these teams have all of these problems. It's the quarterback, it's the coach, it's the owner, it's the draft pick, it's the sunlight in the building. It's the, pick a reason, any reason.
Right.
And ultimately, these guys are all C+ students. It's the 1A that Uncle Dave, it's always the 1A that always stands out. And there's Andy Reid for you.
And
sitting over there, teacher's pet.
I will give Tom Brady this. I know I banged on Tom Brady for not exactly being the most electric football analyst out there. And he's got a little bit of that NBA, y'all didn't know what it was like in the 90s mentality, right? But he is right about this.
Neither does he.
For as much as we want to get on Bryce Young or Caleb Williams or Anthony Richardson or Trevor Lawrence, look at the organizations. As Pat McAfee is banging on the Colts for not doing Anthony Richardson right, you could say the same thing about Bryce Young last year. And I always go back to that Jonathan Jones report about too many voices. They got all these quarterback gurus and he's hearing all these kind of things. And when he said simplify, it wasn't like, oh, Bryce Young clearly doesn't understand the offense. No. It was simplify the message. And and it gets back to the draft. But that's where we are right now. It's an economy of two things. As Dan Le Batard likes to call it, hope trafficking, the economy of hope, which is what the draft is about. And you go and get the hot shit quarterback from college that's going to save your season. I mean, look how they reacted to Caleb Williams in Chicago. Okay. And then you also have, that sound foam thing does not want to stay.
No,
it's okay. I'll order some new ones. So you've got the economy of hope, and then you also have the economics of rookie quarterbacks, where you are flushing through all these QBs and not really giving them a chance to develop because you can just go get the next cheap one that's basically controlled through the contract. So like, this guy's not working. Go get me the next one to see if I can get that scratch-off ticket. If it's not Caleb Williams, well, it's Cam Ward right now. If it's not Cam Ward, well, it's Shedeur Sanders. And that is a trap, which gets back to the main thing that I said about the Panthers going back to the draft. Maybe don't draft a quarterback this time and get improved elsewhere so that maybe down the line you can insert a CJ Stroud and allow him to develop with the team around him rather than going, all right, go and fix it quarterback, which is the problem that we're seeing all across the league.
Another good thing for the Panthers that I would take away from the way that they played the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I keep telling you, the NFL stands for not for long.
Yeah.
And the real reason for the despair over the way that they played last year and at the start of this season is you shouldn't be that separated from the rest of the pack.
Yeah.
The Panthers have now graduated to the point, as evidenced by where they are in their draft position right now, where they're just another team.
Mm-hmm.
And that, believe it or not, is progress. And part of that is bringing new guys in and seeing some of these rookies actually hit. So good for the Panthers.
We'll get out here on a light note as we're going across all things NFL related. I will say this. Teams are bad, flushing things down the toilet, flush this, flush that. Apparently sometimes you can't flush. Darren Rizzi, who's the interim coach for the New Orleans Saints, so he's a pretty open guy. And they were at home. They were in the Superdome?
Yes.
Okay.
No, man, I'm a pretty open guy. So this is how my day started. I get down here to the stadium, get down here to Superdome. I go in the head coach's locker room, which, I've never used before, right? So here I am early in the morning. I go to the bathroom, and this is how my day started. I clogged the toilet. And I'm like, this is going to be a crappy day, pun intended. And so listen, I'm like, okay, this is not really a great start to the day. Here we go. And so, I'm not really feeling like a head coach of an NFL team right now.
Look, that's elite. That's elite. I got nothing but respect for Darren Rizzi, interim coach of the Saints.
You're saying the flush level is not like
it's not your home.
This is not like a PGA Tour trailer bathroom that you have to pump like 14 times.
This is not you who's done a bathroom remodel. You get the new toilets that save on water, the low flows, all that stuff. Sometimes it leads to a little bit of clogging. I don't care how many golf balls it says it can flush. Trust me, it ain't as advertised sometimes. I'll tell you one of my proudest moments, Joe. Want to know one of my proudest moments? I clogged a Magic Kingdom bathroom once.
Actual Disney World?
Disney World. I mean, we're talking tip-top, high pressure. I mean, that's a fire hydrant flushing down, man. They don't joke in Disney World.
Yeah.
I clogged one once. Wow. It's really impressive. Really, I was very proud of myself for that. Very proud of myself for that.
Housekeeping.
Poor Inovana. They got to come to my house and clean after all that discussion. Big thanks to Inovana. Check them out online at inovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it green clean with Inovana.
We got OG fans. It's all part of OGTriangleMedia.com. Brownlow and I had a late ACC Panic Room focused a little bit more on hoops yesterday. You can check that out at OGTriangleMedia.com. What's Giglio got cooking today for the newsletter?
Oh, I went into some Dave Doeren madness.
Oh,
which was interesting. We had some tiebreaker math, which was simplified. And then I'm really starting to get into my bag there with the college football playoff projections, because you're going to see rankings tonight, but that's if the tournament started today.
Yeah,
well, the tournament doesn't start today.
Yeah,
a lot of these teams are going to play each other, so please prepare yourself. If you work for the default mode that Notre Dame's going to piss you off, what would irritate you more than Notre Dame hosting Indiana in the college football playoff? What could possibly irritate you more than that? Well, start thinking about it.
Yes, start thinking about that. And if you're an NC State fan who's thinking about what the rest of the season is going to look like, well, here's what you do. You go to Nature's Relief. You go to naturesreliefhempstore.com, RELEAF, hempstore.com. You get yourself something that puts you in the couch. Because, man, what are you watching? You got 2 more games left. I know it's basketball season. You got 2 more games left. What could go wrong? Well, don't chance it. Vibe. Just go to naturesreliefhempstore.com. Trust me, they got something for you that'll make the NC State games a hell of a lot more entertaining. And while you're watching NC State, or really any sporting event, you want to be doing it in comfort. You want to be doing it in Rowback. Incredibly comfortable pants, hoodies, workout shorts, workout shirts, the polos. As Mike Maniscalco told us, he's going to sleep in his Rowback. So go to rowback.com and use that promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. Hey, the holidays are right around the corner. You know who would love a Rowback polo? Somebody in your life.
Absolutely.
So again, go to rowback.com. Big thanks to Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. Attorneys and counselors at law. They can handle all sorts of legal needs for you personally or for your small to medium-sized business. And maybe you don't want to go through a bathroom remodel. You just want a new house, and you want to ask, you're going to tell Hometown Realty, hey, I want a house that has a bathroom, that has a toilet, that can flush 200 golf balls without any problems.
Whoa.
And they'll be
That's
like,
a lot.
We'll look that up for you. We'll look that up for you. So go on over to myhtr.com today. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, columnist for the News and Observer, he is Luke DeCock. All right, Luke, I'm going to hit you with a question that we got on the OG mailbag last week as the Carolina Hurricanes were on a hot streak. And for the most part, the hotness continues. They've won 9 out of their last 10 with a win over the Golden Knights last night. Who's owed a bigger apology for the offseason hand-wringing? Is it Eric Tulsky? Is it Marty Necas? Is it Rod Brindamore, or is it Tom Dundon?
That's a very good question. I've already written the Necas column, so I'm just going to punt on that part of the column I wrote last week, that Marty Necas is actually who we thought he was.
Yeah, he is apparently the prince who was promised. We patiently waited, much like his Instagram account, and now we're here. He's finally delivering the goods.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say Tulsky because he told me right when he took the job, I know that I'm going to get held up as an example for everything analytic in hockey. And I just happen to be taking over at a time where we have to rebuild a quarter of the roster, and do it on the fly and do it without a ton of salary cap space. It wasn't, there wasn't a ton of money to go make big moves. And I think, and I joked at the time, I think we've talked about this, the Evolving Hockey, the very good analytical site, put out a list of like 12 value free agents based on their analytic numbers, and they have a great expected salary model. So they predict all these contracts. It's incredible. And they posted, I guess, 10 to 12 guys. These are going to be the best value free agents. It was like Walker. Robinson wasn't on there. I can't remember if Roslovic was. Carrier was. Like, basically the Hurricanes had 3 or 4 of them. Yeah. And the other Sebastian Aho was on there too. And I maintain to this day that if you're going to go the full 9 on the Evolving Hockey value list, you got to grab the other Sebastian Aho while you're at it.
I'm so upset. I'm so upset. They did have the chance to do the funny.
It was right there.
It was right.
They needed it anyway.
Right.
So to answer your question, I'm going to say Tulsky because he operated kind of in a way that was maybe a little bit predictable. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, here's analytical guy becoming the GM. He's going to go out and get all these analytic darlings. But the reality is it's worked. Like the Walker Ghost to Spear pairing has been great. Jack Roslovic is the finisher that the Hurricanes have needed for years. I don't know if it's going to last, but you take the early results. Carrier has been a great fit. Eric Robinson was the guy that everyone said, oh, when this guy gets into Rod's system, he's going to be great. There's a little bit of like when Jordan Martin got here and you're like, oh, this guy fits really well. And then, the reality is that this team has put up better analytic numbers this year than the last 2 years so far. It's scoring goals like crazy. The counterfactual I would give you, or a hypothetical I would give you, is what if, and look, I loved Teuvo Teravainen as a player, loved him as a dude, loved his sense of humor, loved how morose he was all the time. Very much on the same wavelength with Turbo in a lot of ways. But think about how different the history, the giant overarching arc of history is for this team. If someone like Roslovic is in that roster and salary spot instead of Teuvo Teravainen, a guy who just finishes. Hurricanes never needed another playmaker. They've got playmakers to spare. They need is a guy who just put the puck in the net. Roslovic so far has done that. Think about what it would be like if Jake Gensel had played like Jack Roslovic, if Michael Bunting had played like Jack Roslovic, if Turbo had ever, shot the puck like that. It's a game changer. And that's why they've scored 4 goals like 32 games in a row now.
See, that's where I'm going to stop you, though. You brought up Gensel because remember the wrinkle to last year was they went out and were active at the trade deadline, and they went and got a guy that we've been all screaming, you need a dude. I mean, I don't want to be knuckle draggy here. Analytics aside, you need a dude who can freaking score, and that's usually what ends up happening. It's one of 2 things for the Hurricanes. Either they're running into the hottest Russian goalie of all time, or their dudes finish and our dudes don't. I mean, again, oversimplification, but you all follow me here. And I don't know if it was because it was late in the game and Rod's systems and all this other stuff, and Gensel did not deliver in the way that people expected him to, nor what the Canes expected him to do. And it does open up the question. It kind of dovetails into the how sustainable is this? And while it's great that they've had this start to the season, and you don't have to hand wring over the end of the year outside of some massive disaster of hockey for the Carolina Hurricanes, they're going to make the playoffs. Again, it gets back to the question of can Rod's system, can these guys do this in the playoffs? I think that question still will remain unanswered. While all this is great, the question remains unanswered. It's great that Marty Necas is doing it now. Can he do it in the playoffs? Roslovic, as you mentioned, doing it now. Well, can he do it in the playoffs? That remains the question for the Carolina Hurricanes, and it has gone unanswered.
Yeah, but we haven't had a chance to answer it yet. And the reality is Gensel didn't score a ton in the regular season. My argument with Jake Gensel is you already have one empty net specialist. You don't need to spend $8 million on another.
Fair.
We don't know. But what I would argue is, one, have they gotten a better mix of players who do a better job of finishing chances or creating chances that other players can finish?
Yeah.
So someone like a Jackson Blake can step in and start scoring goals immediately. But yeah, does that pan out in the playoffs? We don't know. Does Kochetkov Anderson tandem make it to the playoffs, and does that tandem make it through the playoffs? Those are both still unanswered questions. I think you can only judge this team now.
Yeah.
Back to your original question in terms of who gets the retroactive pass on the offseason or pat on the back or whatever. In terms of what you can do through November 12th, I don't know that there's much different the Hurricanes can do. They're scoring 4 goals a game. The guys they signed have been great fits. Freddie Anderson's been hurt, which you just sort of count on at this point.
Yeah.
And they've weathered that storm. The games that they've lost that sting the most, the opener against Tampa, where I didn't think they played as poorly as Rod did. They got out-starred, right? Tampa's stars are better. What happened in the second period in Colorado? Makar and McKinnon, right? They got out-starred in Colorado. That wasn't the worst game they've played all year. That's a game they should have won when you play the way you did in the first and third periods. But still, so that issue that you refer to in the playoffs, the idea of our best players aren't as good as the other team's best players, and that's what's going to decide this game or the series, that's still hanging out there. Like, can you win with a swarm of players in the playoffs? We've seen 2 examples of how it hasn't worked. Now, there are a bunch of examples in there of when it has worked, obviously, because you don't get to have this record without it working a lot. But I do think, you look at those 2, pick out those 2 data points. The Tampa game and the Colorado game were games where elite players rose above what the Hurricanes were able to offer. That would be the one disconcerting sign. Other than that, yeah, I think if they play the way they've played through the first month and week of the season, they have a really good chance in the playoffs because they are coming in waves. They're doing it even when their goaltending's been a little shaky. And the new players have fit really well. I got this one wrong. I thought after watching that Lightning game, I thought 2 things. I thought 1, Brent Burns is completely washed.
Yeah.
And 2, it's going to take a month to integrate these players into the Hurricanes and what they do. It took about 8 hours And Brent Burns has been great. So you got to throw that one out and just say, look, what they tried to do over the offseason, returning back to your original question, what they tried to do over the offseason, to the extent you can judge it now, has worked. And I think Eric Tulsky gets a lot of credit for that. He stuck to his guns. He stuck to his principles. He went and got players he thought would fit in the system and make this team better, and they have.
One Canes trivia before we move on to basketball, because it's champions. It's the true Duke Super Bowl tonight, Luke.
The real Duke opener. The real
Duke opener is tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So Marty Natchez becomes the 4th player in Hurricanes Whalers history with a 10-game assist streak, joining Sebastian Aho, Eric Stahl, and
whoa. I'm going to say Mike Rogers.
No, that would be Dave Keon.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be one of those old Whaler guys.
It
wasn't going to be someone obvious.
Yeah,
those guys are obvious, but I was thinking Deneen, Rogers, Blaine Stoughton.
Right.
Those guys.
Well, it is interesting, though. Sometimes I see stats like that or fun facts like that, and it kind of puts into perspective the totality of Whalers Hurricanes history and how what we're seeing with the Canes right now is kind of uncharted territory for the entirety of the franchise history, right?
Yeah.
Like Sebastian Aho, he climbed his way to the record books faster, and it makes you go, well, what does that say about guys who were here prior to that? Or is it guys haven't stuck around long enough for?
I mean, you had 10 years that were a statistical black hole of guys scoring 40 points a season,
right?
But hey, think of it this way, and this is something I hadn't really considered. This may be a column at some point. For all of the Whalers baggage, for whatever you want to call it, and nostalgia, and it was so great back then. This franchise has been the Hurricanes longer than it was the Whalers now.
It has been, yes.
So, the WHA years skew things a little bit, but we're getting to a point where not only did they win the Stanley Cup here and go to the Stanley Cup finals here and have an all-star game here and host it, and all of like the big milestones in franchise history have all been here.
Mm-hmm.
But we're getting to the point where this is the history of the franchise, and the Whalers are increasingly becoming a footnote. That said, I've written this years ago and continue to write it when applicable. I have zero problem with them leaning into the Whalers history. I think Pete Carmanos made a huge mistake by not burying that hatchet earlier and going after the money. So,
well, and obviously making sure Chris Berman's happy. Now, this is my second Chris Berman reference of today's show. That man, you're with me, Leather.
That's too many.
Legend, absolute legend.
Let's talk hoops.
Yes, let's talk hoops. All right. So we got the Champions Classic tonight. I know you wrote about this, and I've been hammering. It's funny. We sit here and we spend a lot of time asking the question, how can we fix college basketball? Right? Or how can college basketball bring some of those eyeballs back? And the answer's been there the entire time. It's just the coaches won't do it. Unless maybe there's a trend now with what we've seen with some of these home and homes, right? If you want college basketball to get the spotlight, well, you need Kansas and Carolina playing at their home gyms, not in the United Center, not, in some other MTE format at Madison Square Garden or whatever it is. The sell of college basketball, much like college football, is the home atmosphere. What differentiates you from the NBA, from the pro product, and the passion of fan bases and the environment and the history and all this other stuff. That's the sell. So Friday night, man, that was a spectacle on multiple levels, right? So Duke under John Shire's getting there, but we still have the vestiges of the Coach K, all those Hall of Fame coaches. We got to elevate this beyond, what we're used to doing. And the Champions Classic tonight is one of those things. This game, Duke and Kentucky with Cooper Flag and everything else going on, would be a hell of a lot freaking better if it was in Lexington tonight. It'd be a hell of a lot better if it was at Cameron tonight. Instead, I don't even know what building it is in tonight. I just know it's going to be half empty as fans are coming in and out of that situation, and I'll watch it, but it's just not the same thing, man.
Yeah, I'll push back a little bit on the Champions Classic in particular, that event that has some pedigree. I've been to enough of these in New York and places like that to know that people do come for both games.
Sure.
And unlike maybe any other neutral site event, this is one that people put on the calendar. And I think the problem is that we didn't start with the Champions Classic, but it was one of the first really big annual events that we're going to do. In addition to the holiday tournaments, which are great. I do not mess with the holiday tournaments. The holiday tournaments are fine. Maui, Atlantis, Charleston. I got no problem with
I'm
those.
talking about these
I'm with
early
you. I'm
season
with you.
games. These
But my problem is the Champions Classic spawned a bunch of imitations. Everyone said, "Oh, let's do a Champions Classic. Let's put two or four teams together for one night in an NBA arena, and we'll all make a ton of money." Which is not necessarily the coaches making those decisions. There's a lot of ADs who say, "Why would I do a home and home with Tennessee when someone will pay me however many tens of thousands of dollars to go play them at midnight in San Antonio in an empty building," which is what happened to NC State last year. To NC State's credit, when you look at their schedule this year, they're playing in an actual tournament in San Diego with good teams. They're playing, who is it? Auburn at home in the challenge. I think they could use one more big home game.
They're going to Kansas,
and they're going to Kansas as part of a home and home.
Yeah.
So when I look at their schedule, I say, okay, this is a schedule that I 95% of the way there. I don't have any problems with their schedule. Duke's going to do a home and home with Kansas. That's the word on the street. Hasn't been fully announced yet, but it's going to happen. Obviously, Kansas is coming to UNC and State over the next 2 years. So there's a lot going on there that I think is good. When you are a Duke, when you are a Carolina, you have the power to book a game, a home and home with Arizona. You have the power to do a home and home with Kansas. UNC Kentucky, when that was a home and home, was one of the highlights of the fall college basketball season, whether it was at Rupp or at the Smith Center. I mean, John Henson and Harrison Barnes and all those Kentucky, John Wall, like those were incredible regular season basketball games that we lost because now CBS pays them to go play in front of 3,800 people in New Orleans, or go play they're playing UCLA at the Garden this year instead of Kentucky. No one cares. No one cares, and you're doing your fans a disservice by playing in those games. Now, obviously, Carolina is the home and home with Kansas. The fact that Carolina is going to Maui and adding the Hawaii game, they only play 2 home games in November. It's a little bit of an artifact of the Hawaii trip. When you go to Hawaii for 2 weeks, it's going to take away from your home schedule. But you still get Bama, you get Kansas next year. I would like to see UNC get out of that CBS Sports Classic and get back to scheduling good teams, home and home, Kentucky, maybe Arkansas now that Cal's there. But to your point earlier, I don't have an issue with the Champions Classic. I think I like it better when it's the first game and it becomes a big kickoff. Like, remember Zion debut?
That was the coming out party, man. It's
Boom.
The entire
first day of the season, like right over the top. Loved it. Came back, played Army at Cameron and did the same thing to Army. So I like the idea of that, just like Gonzaga Baylor was. Now they played it at 4 a.m. East Coast time, but that was a good first day game to start the season on a home court. The problem is not the Champions Classic. The problem is all the games that want to be the Champions Classic and aren't. Those are the ones that are taken away from the home games. But you're right. If State plays Tennessee in San Antonio, that's not a Spurs game. It's a G League game in front of 3,800 people. And the fact that it was at 10 o'clock Eastern time meant no one watched anyway. State's biggest non-conference games last year, the ones that really determined their season, were played in half-empty arenas. That casino gym in Las Vegas where they got in the brawl with BYU and both Keats got thrown out. Like, those are games, if that's fine. You want to go do a tournament, that's fine. But you need to play some at home.
Just call it the Rick Barnes Classic, man.
Play Tennessee every year, home and home.
Play there, and then all the old timers. Hey, Rick. It's like that SNL kid.
How about this? How about a 4-team?
Remember
Rick
that
Barnes Classic? Yeah. I got this. State, Texas, Tennessee, and Lenore Ryan.
I love it. Let's put them all together. And State
the OG brought to you by the OG.
Yeah, all the old timers can go there. It'll be like that SNL skit where they all come up to Rick and be like, "Hey, Rick, remember that time you stuck it to Dean?"
Remember that? That was awesome.
That was awesome, man. That was awesome. Luke DeCock, columnist, News and Observer. We appreciate the time, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right, man.
Big thanks to Luke DeCock for joining us here on Ovies and Giglio. And big thanks to Happy and Hale. We took a hockey break with Luke.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
Maybe you are looking for a break from the beige. You are looking for a break from fast food that fills you up but doesn't really leave you satisfied. That's where Happy and Hale comes in. Smoothies, in and out, The app makes it super easy to order and pick it up as you go. And it's also just a good meeting spot. I see a lot of meetings taking place in that North Hills location, Joe.
Delicious food. You know what I'm doing tonight for the boss's birthday?
Oh, it's Jess's birthday?
Yes.
Happy 34th to Jess.
Yes. 35th. Yeah.
For the 15th year.
Yeah. No. Let's not do that math.
Love you, Jess.
Yes. Duh. I'm going to Madre tonight.
Oh,
Tyler's
nice.
other place.
Nice.
So I'm excited about this new experience. And they have all kinds of experiences, obviously, at Happy and Hale. The hot honey chicken, which you said.
Did you have it finally?
It is. It met all expectations.
It's pretty legit. It's pretty
I'm
legit.
excited. I'm excited to check everything out. But go check them out. Happy and Hale. North Hills, also Six Forks, and then, of course, Durham.
Yeah, I know we're getting into the new year and people are going to make New Year's resolutions and all that other stuff, but it goes beyond just, working out or whatever. It's also what you eat. And Happy Hale can help with that. They've actually partnered with O2fitnessclubs.com with Loop Nutrition, part of O2 Fitness. It's this whole process. It's more than just a gym, as we like to say. So go to O2fitnessclubs.com to find out more about that. You can work with a personal trainer, or if you got to go beyond just, all right, what's the proper way to work out? Look, I got a neck issue. I got a knee issue. Renew Physiotherapy can help you with that process as well, Joe.
Yeah, Krista, some dry needling yesterday. We did some stretches. Man, your boy is
you're bad.
He's on the road, man.
You're bad off, man. You are bad off. You are bad off. Big thing.
I do marvel though at the equipment in there.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like space age. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
there's some gyms that are like totally Spartan, and you're like, yeah, man, I just need me and Clubber Lang, doing pull-ups from the roof, and it's like, nah, man.
At the Seaboard location, they got locations all across the triangle. I'm sure there is one near you in the listening audience, and they've got some new O2. You talk about space age, they got the O2 signature, right? I go to the Seaboard station just like you do. They have an ARC trainer that still has an old iPod plus Nike hookup, and I actually want to bring my old iPod to see if it still links up and does the thing on the machine. So, but yeah, they do have a lot of new great stuff. So go to O2fitnessclubs.com. Big thanks to Home Field Apparel. Check them out online at homefieldapparel.com. Use that promo code OG24 to save 15% off your order. We're getting into the colder weather. They got incredible satin pullovers. They got the bomber jackets and, of course, the hoodies. I'm actually wearing a Home Field hoodie today that they had done for the Sports Podcast Festival. I'm sure this is going to be getting a lot of work, and it's one of my favorite hoodies. I got this one. I got the other gray Home Field Apparel one. I wear them all the time. They are definitely in my go-to rotation. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. As we mentioned, the weather is changing over, so your needs might change. And that's where bugsbite.com comes into play. Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority, you can bundle and save.
Preposterous. It's unbelievable.
It's about as preposterous as the smoked turkey at Sam Jones. It's fantastic. It's delicious. And it could be yours for Thanksgiving.
I was going to say, you want to win Thanksgiving? Smoked turkey breast. Not to mention the sides. The beans to me are the fastball. I love their beans.
So we talked about this a little bit with Luke about Duke's Super Bowl tonight.
Hey,
and I saw this.
Congratulations, Duke! Preemptively,
I saw this.
You already won your off-season banner, off-season champions.
Hell yeah, man!
And I'm really mad that you guys don't hang these banners in Cameron. If you were Carolina, this is where I'll give you credit. Like, Carolina loves to hang a banner for anything.
Of course,
okay,
of course.
So I give you credit. But if I were Duke, I would definitely hang banners of off-season recruiting champions and champions, classic champions. I would hang them all. So I admire your restraint on that front. But yeah, Duke's won 5 of their last 7 in the Champions Classic. They get Kentucky tonight and Sidney Lowe, part 2. I mean, Mark Pope. So we'll get to see what the new look Wildcats have in store for the war machine that is the Duke Blue Devils.
Will we ever hear anything mentioned about Kentucky and Mark Pope tonight? Or is it just going to be Cooper Flag, Cooper Flag, Cooper Flag, Cooper Flag? I saw this on Bleacher Report. Cooper Flag compared to Kevin Garnett, Anthony Davis by NBA exec amid Duke's success. I said, I don't, and nowhere here do I see Giglio's point that he is just Josh McRoberts.
Well, we'll see.
But this is.
I don't think that story did him any favors, to be perfectly honest with you. The one Baxter Holmes from ESPN, obviously well reported. You got the patented, it's the origin story is what it is. But
sure,
look, man. Again, you're besmirching McBob's great name.
I understand.
The stats are the stats. The numbers are the numbers. We'll see what this will be a greater test for him. Kentucky's obviously not. Kentucky's more of now a quote unquote normal program that they have a bunch of transfers who they brought in, and you'll see what they do. But hey man, like I said, I am really not yucking their yum here. Like this is their thing. The Champions Classic and recruiting are their thing. So like this is awesome for them.
To your point about this not doing Cooper Flagg any favors. Well, I do think it's growth that we're doing, cross-racial comparisons in basketball.
Sure.
So that's growth. Anytime there's a good white player, you have to only compare him to another white player, right? Even though the comparison, I think we finally aged out of the Larry Bird comparisons because most young people
don't remember
who. Right. Oh, you mean the guy that Michael Jordan said "F you, you effing bitch" in the Dynasty in the Last Dance documentary? Like again, you get to a point where those kind of getting back to my point with Chris Berman. Really Germany? Hey man, it's 2024, dude. Like, come on, it's global now, man. So I don't know if that's because we've aged out of that kind of stuff, or we've evolved in that situation. And yeah, I'm with you. And we've been kind of talking about this as the season starts to get underway, in that they're positioning Cooper Flagg in a way that he might not actually be. And I mean, I'm sure Duke doesn't care right now. And I'm sure they're insulated enough where that kind of stuff won't get to Cooper Flagg. They're probably more concerned right now with Cooper Flagg playing a full game.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's where we're at right now with the discourse. But yeah, man, what time is that? The 7 o'clock or the 9 o'clock tonight?
No, sir. That is the late game.
Of course it is. Of course it is, because we have to have more late night stuff. Wonderful.
There are many topics for lightning round today on OMG.
So it looks like Syracuse is not having the season that NC State wanted. It happens. Does Dave Doeren not shower though?
Are you sure? Syracuse is 6-3.
I know
they could easily go 9-3.
Yeah, I guess they could. I guess maybe I was premature on that. But anyway, they lost over the weekend.
Yeah.
All right. And Fran Brown, who's in the running for ACC Coach of the Year, apparently doesn't shower after a loss. And the reason why he doesn't shower is that he says he doesn't deserve soap.
Oh. Honestly, I got like a ritual. Like when we lose, I ain't even getting a shower till early this morning. I just be mad. I just brush my teeth. But it's like I don't deserve soap. I don't deserve to do all that. I'm just focused on like trying to get back and trying to make sure that our players mentally understand and know that I let them down, that they didn't do it. I just wake up all night, especially when you lose. You like wake up like, damn, it really happened. It really happened that way. So it's just different pieces. And then I just move on. There's a process that I follow every week. Win, lose, or draw. Only thing is like my wife, I can't sleep in the bed if we lose because I ain't going to get in the shower for that day. I'm just mad and I just sit there. I just brush my teeth. That's what I have to do so y'all won't say my breath stink. But
so, okay. That was my takeaway. Call me weird, whatever. He's like, you don't want to shower. Cool. I get it. You're so locked in that you don't have time to shower. I don't deserve soap. That is a hell of a line, man. Respect. Okay. But I brush my teeth. Well, what's it matter at that point? If you stink, your breath also smelling is not going to be the reason why I'm not going to be around you. Like, nah, I got to brush my teeth. You can say my breath stinks. Yeah, but you stink. Okay.
There's a flaw in that logic.
There's a little bit of a flaw in that logic. You brush your teeth. Why? The little smooch from the wife? Well, if you stink, she doesn't want to be around you. Then what's the point of even brushing your teeth? Unless you really are dedicated to dental hygiene. Maybe he's got
something to be said for that.
As somebody who has to go to the dentist every 3 months because I have a weird gum thing, respect. Maybe he's truly, truly concerned about that. Anyway. All right, this is another thing that we didn't get to yesterday, but I need some context from you, Joe, because I wasn't quite paying attention to this. Apparently, Mark Harland, who is the athletics director for Utah, went to the podium after their loss to BYU. And
which I've never seen in any of the years covering sports. I've never seen an AD have a post-game press conference.
Who does he think he is? Jerry Jones? I mean, is this not like an NC State Debbie Yao fever dream?
Yeah.
Like after a basketball game where you didn't like the officiating, that Debbie Yao takes the podium and then just drops hot bars? Is that not the fever dream? So what happened at the end of that Utah BYU game?
So Utah was winning, and it was a 4th down play that they made a stop basically in their own end.
Yeah.
And the game would have been over. They would have won by 2, whatever. Okay. But they called a hold on the play. And then on the drive itself, there was like a questionable catch. There was also a timeout that was called that they claim, there was like a kind of a sequence of calls that were kind of wonky.
I see.
That all worked out in BYU's favor on the road.
I see. And then here is the AD after the game. A nice jacket.
Been an athletic director for 12 years. This game was absolutely stolen from us. We were excited about being in the Big 12, but tonight I am not. We won this game. Someone else stole it from us. Very disappointed. I will talk to the commissioner. This was not fair to our team. I'm disgusted by the professionalism of the officiating crew tonight.
That really, if Boot Corrigan decides to move on to something else, are state fans not going, hey, whoever the new chancellor is?
Who is that Utah?
Right.
Can we get that guy?
Whoever the new chancellor is who replaces Randy Woodson, somebody's going to email like, just send him that clip. That's who we need right now.
Would require someone doing an in-person press conference. I've never seen that before. That's amazing. But John Boy actually did the whole breakdown, did the replay. The AD goes on the field and goes up to the officials and says, that's why we fired you, we being the Pac-12. So it was a fired Pac-12 crew that has been since hired by the Big 12.
Dude.
And he went up to him and he goes, that's why we fired you.
Dang.
On the field, like in real time.
Good for you, man. You know what? Like, I'm a little like, this game was stolen. And also, I'm like, okay, that's this kind of
at home, man. You're supposed to get those calls at home. I tell you.
I know that was another thing that kind of scratches your itch there of like, hey, I've been trying to tell you. These are the things you get a little home cooking. Like Steve Logan always used to say, the refs know who's supposed to win, that kind of stuff, right? But I see that, and it's like, oh, come on, man. I roll. Oh, we got this game stolen from us. Although I'll say at least he stood by his convictions. He went up to the refs and he said that. I'd rather do this. I'd rather have ADs do this than the BS that's been happening as of late where fans are throwing trash onto the field. Now, you talk about officiating being a problem. The minute it worked at Texas.
I was going to say.
The minute it worked at Texas earlier this year, now everybody thinks, well, all right.
Oh, we're going to do it.
We're going to do the same damn thing, and we might be able to reverse the call. That's precedent setting. That's absolutely precedent setting. And I don't know how you get that genie back in the bottle this season. You just hope that people forget about it going into next season. Big thanks to Breeze Through. You can check them out online at breezethrough.com. I was actually at the Breeze Through by the arena the other day, filled up on gas. I asked Adam, what do we got to do to get an ad in the little TV thing to promote the OG? Then I ran it through the car wash. It's that simple. Great beer cave, great locations all across the triangle, conveniently located outside of major sporting events.
I will say to you that I hate those Maria Menounos ads. She's much more easy on the eyes than we are.
But what if it was us?
That's what I'm saying. That's not something I would choose.
All right.
Now, maybe a picture of us would be okay.
Okay.
Or a logo with some information and a QR code. But the video itself, I hate when you pump gas and those videos come up. I can't, because they're so loud.
I do think it's funny now that they have
crazy loud.
They have an arrow now where like hit this button to mute it.
Yeah, they need that. Definitely, they need that. We would definitely get some kickback on that, like some bad feedback on that. Like,
I don't care.
I used to like you guys,
but then you're yelling at me while I'm pumping gas.
Just trying to Because most people try to talk on the phone when they pump gas. Most people. Yeah. Most people.
Oh.
So you can't do
Couldn't be
anything.
me.
Yeah. Well, you don't talk on the phone, period.
I don't. Just text me. Just like you can contact Butcher's Market and have your catering needs taken care of. Go to thebutchersmarkets.com. Look, we talk about all the things that you can do on your own. You can get the meat, you get the marinades, get the spices, all that kind of stuff. They got sides, they got prepared meals. But maybe you don't have time to do it for yourself or for the family or for the event that you're going to have. And you want to have like legitimate, good catering? The Butcher's Market can do it for you. So visit them online at thebutchersmarkets.com. And while you're at it, grab a bunch of pints of ice cream from Two Roosters. Go to tworoosters.com. And of course, there's the chocolate chess pie. And when the Canes are back at home, by all means, go to one of their 3 locations in the building. Now, you want that Slavin Sunday, you go to the main stall. I would suggest you split it between 2 people. Don't be a sicko like me and do it all in one sitting. I paid the price. I could have used the Disney World bathroom. The point is, it's a big Sunday, and it's a lot of bang for your buck. What? I'm slightly lactose intolerant. And I power through because the ice cream's good. That's how good Two Roosters is. I'm willing to put up with lactose intolerance because it's that good.
I'm going today to get the chocolate chess pie. Birthday.
Yeah.
I will report back.
Yes, please report back. Big thanks to Matt Davis over at State Farm. I wonder if you get toilet insurance. Go to OGinsurance.com, insuregarner.com. Or call Matt directly at 919-779-8277. We thank Matt Davis for being a corporate champion and the keeper of priceless sports artifacts. Have you recovered? You good? What's wrong?
That's so good, Ed. That's so good. I shit my brains out the whole second. Go get one. See for yourself.
Hey, Ovies says this is so good. He's willing to put up with lactose intolerance for it. Can I get it? Cool. Thank you.
It's good. Missed the second period.
No. Usually it doesn't end until I get home, so I don't miss the second period. Or you time it right. You just time it right. Just don't get stuck in traffic. All right.
Not getting this anywhere else. Nowhere else.
Who else is going to give you memorable ads like us? Who else is going to give you?
I just wish it was a home field ad.
Yeah, true. What? I've been open about my lactose intolerance. Let's go to the sports phone. Speaking of memorable things.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
Last sports phones calls yesterday, and there's a fraction of them. We had a couple follow-ups. And really, this is not so much a Hey Joe as it is an extra segment that just kind of highlights I think at this point, people should understand why NC State fans feel the way that they do about the football program right now.
Sure. Can you also just take this second? Then I hate to be the bearer of bad news for some people here. 90% of the content you get on morning radio is fake. These phone calls are 100% all real.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. None of these are fake. We might know some of the people who call in, but we don't like prompt them. We do not send out a script. This is not like, these are not manufactured, edited AI in any kind of way.
Are you telling me that I could script the guy who called yesterday with 9:48 to go and CJ Bailey gets sacked?
I'm just,
here we go. He gets sacked.
I want people to understand that these are all completely legitimate calls.
Yeah. Were people questioning if they were legitimate or not?
I would, if knowing how the business works, I would.
Oh yeah.
But knowing that there are calls, these are all real.
Now, one thing I was going to say though, and why all what you're about to hear, I do think is justification for how State fans feel. Unbeknownst to me, I did not know this until yesterday, that with all these things going on with NC State, more money, NIL, all this stuff, I did not realize they quietly raised the prices on parking and on tickets.
Well, quietly, not on the parking, because that was coming. First of all, that was coming.
It was coming.
Second of all, now with the Dundon expansion, that was going to be part of it. Third of all, once Tennessee figured out how to tax the fans, everyone else was going to tax the fans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing, though. If you're going to raise the price of the brick, that's fine. But when you do that, you better expect people to go, okay, if you want more money from us, well, then the product has to go up. This is not a Cadbury cream egg with shrinkflation. You're charging me more for a Cadbury cream egg and giving me less. It's fine. It's a one time of the year thing. This is a huge, it's the difference from a couple of bucks. This is a huge outlay of cash and time and money that's spent by people. And they're going to be a little upset after X amount of time, 12 years. You have this to show for it. And you're asking me for more money for this? No, I don't want that. So let's go to sports phone call number 1.
Woo! That was a Dave Doeren special. I mean, it couldn't have gotten more Dave Doeren than that. By great reporting by the technician, I just saw that in my complete waste of an afternoon that we found a way to lose by holding Duke to 31 rushing yards and not convert on a third down. And then I tried to do a little bit of research on it. And the only thing that I could figure out, there's like no college stats for it. I could only find NFL, but like in 2018, for God's sakes, the Seattle Seahawks did it, I think, against the Denver Broncos. And they wrote an article that this was the 20th time that a team won since 1991. And that was, we're what, 6 years removed from that? I mean, good grief. I mean, I just, he continuously never ceases to amaze me. I mean, this is just poetic Dave Doeren football, stubborn as hell. And I'll leave you with this. One of my buddies brought a friend to the game. He sat next to me. He's a Miami fan. And as we were leaving, he was like, I've seen some pretty bad situational football, but this tops it. But the funniest part of the night is that you could just sit there and call all the plays. Delayed handoff, halfback draw, slant. I mean, it's just so predictable. But hey, here we are. We'll probably lose to Georgia Tech, beat Carolina, win the bowl game, and say that this was a great season and some good off-season, spin job by Doeren, that this was such a great redemption story, and, we fought hard and whatever. I'm over this shit. Thank God that this is the end of the season.
I didn't know Seth Rollins was an NC State fan. That was impressive.
That sentiment, I had a guy email me and say, I'll give NC State credit, much like the guy who's like, I'll go do stuff with my wife now. He's like, I've not been at this low level of investment in NC State football for a very long time. And in a weird sort of way, I appreciate it. Okay.
Hey, Joe and Joe. I mistakenly made a post of telling Duke fans to show their Duke degree on Twitter because it was funny, and let's be honest, 95% of them don't have a degree from Duke. Half of them are Durham Tech grads or Durham Tech dropouts from New Jersey, haven't set the foot in North Carolina. Anyway, we lost to Duke tonight in horrible fashion, and Duke football Twitter quoted that tweet with a made-up, basically, degree, some little graphic of a degree, and basically cooked on their page and ended our season big time. So that's all I got to say. Sucks. So fire Dave. Fuck this.
He got dunked on? Hold on a second. It's like the actual Duke football Twitter?
Duke actually had a really good tweet.
So hold on a second. Okay. I'm seeing it now. I did not see this. This is fascinating to me. All right. Two tweets that I found kind of funny. Here's the one that the caller was referencing. This worked for you. Duke University had Duke football degree of Bachelor of Arts and butt kicking. And then, okay, Duke fans, I dare you to show your Duke degree. Granted at Carter Finley Stadium in the state of North Carolina on the 9th day of November, 2024. Shit, man, that's pretty good.
It's not even their best tweet of the day.
That's pretty good. I didn't realize they also had, I don't know, I think somebody over at Duke football might have the drunk OG. Do you see this?
Yes, I was going to say that was their best tweet of the day.
So tough.
So tough. That's pretty good.
That looks a lot like drunk OG.
Again, people, talk your shit while you can. That's what the point of all of this is. I have no problem with the Duke account being like, hey, oh, you're tough? You're toughy? I don't look so tough.
That's funny.
Good for them. Man.
That's
I love
funny.
it.
All right, next up.
Kyle here, long-time listener, first-time caller, Founders Gang, gang. On the way back from that incredible night in Carter Finley Stadium, just a couple observations. One, shout out to the guy in Section 10 sitting behind me. Pure genius on the same drive, yelling, don't run the ball, don't run the ball. Literally the same drive, next call. Don't throw the ball, don't throw the ball. So he was already ahead of the game. We kicking field goals, my man's a genius. Second, I think we all know where this is going. State's got 2 games left. Carolina's got 2 games before the State-Carolina game. We're going to all be at 5 games. We're going to Chapel Hill. And we're going to have coaches on the line. It might as well be the Mac versus Dave Doeren game. Anyway, great night in Carter Finley. Go hang up and listen. I might be listening for a little bit. Y'all have a good night.
Now, that will be news to Mac because he spent his press conference yesterday telling us about which players were going to redshirt, which players he was planning on bringing back for 25, which conversations he's had about who's not coming back for 25.
He's so good, man.
Really is the master. I think they beat Wake Saturday night, get to 6. I suspect they lose at Boston College, so they'll be 6-5 when they play that game. Mac's not planning on going anywhere. I will just point that out to you, which may work in their disadvantage. Whereas if he had just said, yeah, it's been an unbelievable run. I'm in the Hall of Fame. We did it. I'm going to go out in style. Then I would think they'd win the football game. Now, I don't know. It all depends on Amari and Hampton. Will he be in one piece by the time they get to that game?
Fair
if
question.
he is, I think they beat State.
Though, to Dave's credit, regardless of how the season goes, he does know how to motivate the Wolfpack.
That is the one game where you can feel confident that you're going to get State's best effort.
You're not getting it against Duke, so we know it's not the Super Bowl. So that's where we're at.
Hey guys, it's where my hug at from Twitter. All right, here's my thoughts. Anai's not the answer. He's gone. He's gone after this game. Fired post game. If they don't announce it, it's going to happen anyway. He'll just be a ghost. But here's what we need to do to fix our issues. Not waste any more NIL on receivers. We can find receivers. All you got to do is be fast. You can find anybody. Go to Mount Airy High. Find somebody that can run. That's it. Keep CJ. Keep Smothers. Other than that, fuck them all. 2J, gone. Bye-bye. And honestly, I'm kind of over Tony Gibson. He ain't that good without a generational quarterback. And as far as Dave goes, he can go to Lake Gaston and be the masturbator. He wanted to open up a bait shop, go masturbate. And that's it. But, I'm over it. But honestly, at the end of the day, don't care. We're basketball school. Love you guys. Love you guys. Especially you, OG. Bye.
I love the person in the background of that call saying, what about Dave? And he goes, yeah, and what about Dave? Go do the bait shop thing, Dave.
Would you, if you were Dave, thinking maybe trying to play a little bit of chess here and maybe placate the fans who you love to not placate, would you fire an eye for the last 2 games?
Yes.
And just then be like, hey, man, now I got a real chance to get this right. If it doesn't work out, right?
Yeah,
I think I would too.
Yeah, it's time to move on.
I don't know what that gets you.
But right. It
Like
doesn't,
who ultimately is calling the plays?
I don't know what
Do you
it
let
gets
Roper
you.
call the plays, or are you really the man? Are you really Oz? I guess that's what the $1 million question with Dave Doeren is.
No, we know what the answer
is. Dave really Oz
Yes.
all along?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's been too long. Too many coordinators. We know the way he wants to win. He's the head coach.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
He wants to go a certain way. So on one hand, yeah, you probably need to move on from Anai because we haven't quite seen anything that would make you go, oh man, yeah. Plus, is Anai, well, here's the question that I have. Is Dave deferring to Anai when it comes to quarterback stuff? We got the Brennan Armstrong
Definitely
because
last
of
year.
the connection.
Definitely last year. Yep.
Is it, and I would prefer the older guy with the connection to Tim Beck, because if that's the case, then I do think it's justification to go in a different direction offensive coordinator wise. And Dave has done this before. Remember when he had the whole, this was when, what's his face took
Des
off?
Kitchings.
No, when they had the two offensive coordinators.
Des Kitchings and George McDonald.
Okay. And that was after Drink.
Eli Drinkwitz went to App State.
Right? And Dave was like, no, it's our system.
It's our offense.
He said it's our offense. Yeah. Huh. Of course it wasn't. It didn't work. So they went in a different direction. So I'm curious, and I'll give Dave this. He will see what's going on and try to adapt and evolve in certain places. And I do wonder, with the last 2 years of going the veteran grad transfer QB route and it not working out for you, that with CJ Bailey, what you're going to do is you're going to find an offensive coordinator that wants to work with CJ Bailey, rather than what did we hear at the beginning of the year with the playbook and all this other crap? Was that Robert Anai, who's like, man, I can't trust this freshman? Or is that Dave?
Oddly enough, Robert Anai is not the quarterback's coach.
That's right.
Kind of weird.
That's right. But he's also the one who's running the offense.
Yeah.
So he's the one that wants to design the plays. He's the one that wants to go a certain way.
Rewatching that thing, I really don't think Robert Anai is the one who called the Jordan Waters run on 3rd and 2. I just don't.
Who knows? All right, next one.
Hey, y'all. It's me, the NC State moderator from last week. I got to say, I'm very disappointed in our fan base. Guys, what are we doing with these phone calls? Like, really, what are we doing? We're wasting our time with these calls. Because what we really should be doing is grabbing our knives and pitchforks and storming to Dave's house and demanding that he give himself up. That's what we should be doing. So, grab your knives and pitchforks, like Shrek would say. Also, on the topic of Dave, Ultimate Salty Dave has definitely come into play, and I'm glad Giglio brought this up with the Duke loss, meaning Clemson's not going to make the ACC tournament. That is Ultimate Salty Dave. He definitely, intentionally, after the loss to Clemson and after the loss to Wake, was like, well, we don't have a chance, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make the fans happy by winning in California, and then I'm going to stick it to Dabo and lose Duke. And then, because I'm so salty, I'm then going to turn around and beat Carolina when I have no business beating Carolina. Also, Rod, don't become Dave. Let PK have the net. It's his time. He looked great last night. Calm, cool, collected. So, Rod, if you don't want to be Dave Doeren, trust your young guys. Let them do the thing. You made steps. You let Nate just have some more freedom. You showed that you can run a system that scores. Continue the growth. Don't be like Dave.
This is our guy from last week who was like Dave, who was giving us Dave telling the fans to be quiet, the fans telling the fans to be quiet.
Yeah.
A lot can happen in a week, man. A lot can happen in a week.
Also, I was not expecting a Rod Brennamore, don't be Dave.
No,
pivot. I was not expecting that.
Things I don't.
I was
really
not expecting
equate,
that.
But
all right, let's see.
You know what the fans are doing though?
What's that?
On a quasi serious note, as I try not to be super smug about this. You can have a show that you call pack therapy, but that doesn't mean you actually have pack therapy. This is actual pack therapy. So there you go.
Hey guys, appreciate your work on the show. Giglio, this is mainly for you as you have the NC State sources, contacts, what have you. I'd like for you to address scheduling, non-conference scheduling What the hell is going on? We've now lost the Florida game. Every preeminent, sexy, if you will, non-conference matchup that we get, it's shit canned. Why trot them out and mention them years in advance if they're never going to fucking get played? Georgia, that's on the future schedule? Yeah, I've already resigned myself to the fact that that's not happening. But I'm going to take you down a trip down memory lane. Since the 90s, we have lost series against UCLA. And no, I'm not talking about just the bowl game. LSU. LSU later, after dumping us, takes up Syracuse. So they played a fellow conference member, but dumped us. Temple, West Virginia, Notre Dame. This was before their sexy sweetheart deal with the ACC. Okay? They went on to play Duke, Carolina, and Wake more or less in the same time period, but they dumped our non-conference series. Tennessee. Tennessee was not supposed to be one-off games in Atlanta and Charlotte. It was supposed to be a home and home. And even amongst those games, one of them was supposed to be the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic. It got pushed to a Friday instead of the Saturday. So we weren't even important enough for a Saturday matchup. Also, Mississippi State, Oklahoma State, BYU, Cincy, just to name a few. What the hell is going on? We can't ever replace any of these with like-for-like games either. Hey, and here Broughton's free, Enlow's free. Maybe they'll play us a game somewhere. Anyways, on to the Duke fiasco. For a lot of us State fans, losing to Duke is a bridge too far. For me, growing up in the 80s, early 90s, we owned them in football. So for me, it's just inexcusable. They're one of the worst programs in the nation for the longest of times. Then they have like 2 straight years where they didn't win a single game, like 0 for 22. Don't give a shit who their coach is. We don't lose to Duke. Period. Full stop. Don't care. It's inexcusable. Dave Doeren has had 1-3 against them, and some of his best shining moments have been against them. Remember in 13, the timeout during the kickoff over there at Wallace Lade? This past year, lost 2 timeouts early in the third quarter that we were going to need in a game in which you were down. And this guy, he bristles when he's called out for his shit. He acts like he's won something of substance here. He hasn't. You beat Notre Dame in the fucking rain. Congratulations. You're 1-3 against Duke. You went 7 straight quarters without a TD against fucking lowly Duke. Beat your chest when you've accomplished something here, man, in your 12 years. You haven't done a damn thing. All right. I'm out, guys. Appreciate it.
Ground there. Let's start with the schedule specifically. Yeah, because he really did run through all of them there. There was a time in scheduling math where it literally did not make sense for teams to play NC State. As he mentioned, LSU, Notre Dame, Tennessee.
Oh, sure.
Because under the old math, like, what do you actually get for beating NC State?
Mm-hmm.
You get no credit.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just dangerous enough under Chuck and Tom that you were like, well, shit, we could lose to them. And then it becomes, well, why'd you lose to NC State?
Right.
Right. So there was a lot of that calculus going on. Debbie specifically in the first 5 years of Dave made sure that their non-conference schedule was as easy as possible in order for him to make a bowl game, because she felt like, again, under the old math, you played in a bowl, you developed your players. This was the best way to develop players, was to get extra practices.
Yeah.
She intentionally played games that she knew that they could win, to the point that she scheduled South Alabama and Old Dominion on the road, knowing that they would win those games and knowing that it was more financially feasible to play them in a 2-for-1 rather than just buying them coming to Carter Finley Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget that Tom lost to Central Florida in his first game.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So those one-offs don't always work the way that you want them to, although they did go back and play down in Central Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. So then Debbie intentionally in the first 5 years of his career said, we're going to make our non-conference schedule just like Duke did under David Cutcliffe. Just like Bill Snyder, one of Bill Snyder's big tricks at Kansas State was, we're going to play the 4 easiest teams we could possibly find so that we can have 4 wins out of the league. Then we win 2, we make a bowl, we feel better about ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. That's number one. The one person who kind of made the transition from Debbie's tenure to Boo Corrigan's tenure was Fred Demarest, and he was the main football administrator. He was responsible. Fred used to work at both LSU and Florida. Worked for Urban Meyer, worked for Nick Saban. Fred had great contacts in the SEC. So he was the one who scheduled Florida. He scheduled Georgia. He scheduled South Carolina. At the time when those were announced in 20 or 21, I said these games are not going to get played, and not because of anything that NC State was going to do, rather than the future was coming in terms of the SEC was going to add another conference game, and there was leverage there, and those games were not going to happen. I even said when the App State game was announced, I remember we were on the radio, I said the game is scheduled for 25 and 26. I don't think these games will end up being played. I don't like that they replaced App State with Virginia. As I mentioned yesterday, he's 3-0 against Virginia. I don't like that, but I understand the reality of it. In this situation, you have the commissioner of your league saying, you're not playing G5 teams on the road anymore. You're not going to do it.
Yep.
So I can kind of sort of understand that. But yeah, I think now Dave, now that, and Fred left the school in 21, 22. So when that happened, Boo really went back. Dave really had more control over everything. And I think he went to Boo and said, I want to go back to playing as easy as a game as we possibly can, because we're going to play Notre Dame, once every 5 years or whatever it ends up being, or twice every 6 years. That's enough. And, the games that they had on their schedule were the ones that they felt like they could win. Texas Tech, I believe Vanderbilt's on there at some point. These are the kind of games. But if you're Dave and you're going to Mississippi State, who's not good at losing and not even really being competitive in that football game, like, what's your incentive for your own protection to play these games?
Right.
The fans are the ones who lose out. Like, those are the ones who really lose out. And I said the same thing when Wake Forest was like, no, we don't want to go to Ole Miss. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Like,
it's an opportunity
especially
for
now.
It's an opportunity for your big boosters to go to the freaking Grove, man.
Plus,
do it.
Plus, now in the playoff situation where there's automatic bids, it doesn't hurt you to go and play these games.
No, it doesn't.
In fact, it could have the opposite effect. Might even help you.
All right. I think I say we have time. We have all the time in the world if we really want it. Let's go one last one before we say goodbye.
Joe, thank you for asking me to call back in. My name is Bradley Stewart. I'm sorry it came up as Yams Repair. I run a towing business, so it come out that way. And I was in State's marching band from 10 to 13. And I will not say the State's band has gone down. They've gone down in enthusiasm, but not talent. But the other state of total bands, like East Carolina, they have gone down in recent years. And like you said, a hand in the dirt, tough people. I played the tuba. I'm not a big fella. I'm 5'9", 140 pounds. I don't look like I played the tuba, but when I was there, you had to be able to drink a fifth of liquor if you was going to play tuba. Half of them got kicked out for being drunk and falling down the steps at Carter Finley. Some of them got kicked out for trying to run a steal on campus. The section leader, he was trying out for the Olympics and about cut his legs off on sharpened skis. And, bands used to be a lot harder than they are nowadays. They don't even smoke cigarettes anymore. Like, that used to be a staple. I don't know what's wrong with these college bands. But anyway, I think that's a high school problem. I don't think we're getting the people in high school that want to transcend to a higher level. And, you got to have good athletics for that, though. Clemson, Florida State, they've all got 350 to 400 people in their band, mainly because they can count on going to a good bowl game. Anyway, I really do enjoy you guys' show. I found you on Instagram before the Final Four run, and I really do like the jingles, man. It's y'all got a natural talent that is very fun to watch your show, even amidst the crisis at State that we shouldn't put up with. Y'all just have a good show, and I appreciate it. And I really do appreciate you mentioning the bands. Maybe we can get the bands back up. I want to have top-tier bands in this state again like we used to have, not, I'd say, second-tier bands. Thank you.
You said, Joe,
make the bands great again.
Make the bands great again.
Let them smoke.
You said, you know what? Can you drink a fifth of liquor, tuba player? No? Then get off my field. Get off my field. You said there's real pack therapy. But I want you to give me a show in the state of North Carolina that's going to transition from hot NC State football takes to hot marching band takes. Get you a show that does both. That's going to wrap it up. We'll see you tomorrow.